Hello, everyone. Welcome to day one of LRI Engineering's Emergency Preparedness Week training series. In this video, we look at a brief history of emergency management and its change over time. Since the dawn of time, humankind has had the need to deal with crises of all types. As people group together for the common good, the idea of some sort of collective response to crisis gradually evolved. History tells us what happened, suggesting what events could occur again, and provides examples of how others have managed to deal with crisis. The technical expertise demanded of the emergency manager addresses how crisis is managed, both in the immediate response, but more importantly, in the development of strategies to reduce risk and build community resilience. As we move through the decades, we start with pre-World War I. We see the ruler or monarch as the emergency planner for their people. This is framed in militaristic terms, with the main goal being to conquer the problem and produce a solution to bring victory. Post-World War I and II was controlled by the military with a deep focus on civil defense, but later developing into a civilian-addressed response to try and push away from the military mindset. In the 1940s, sociologists took the dynamics of disasters into consideration and began to ask questions like, how do people like you and I react towards a disaster? There was no more focus on the military, and it became a civilian-focused and centered on psychology and sociology. In the 1950s and 60s, we see growth and expansion of management, organizational behavior, crisis management, and facets relating to a boardroom perspective that influenced response. The 1980s brought drastic change with the emergency of advanced information technology and reliance on computers and data with more of a focus on recovery. In the 1990s, there was a new lexicon: business continuity, contingency planning, and protection of businesses with a focus on resiliency, as well as the environmental aspect of global warming. The 2000s, specifically 2001, where 9/11 began the focus on anti-terrorism and security. Disasters that have already occurred provide pieces of useful information. Learning from history is critical in our field. We look at human nature as being an important aspect of the history of emergency management, as the sociological approach that commenced in the 1940s and 50s changed the way we view disasters as well as how we deal with them. Sociologists look at the aspects of a population that made them vulnerable to specific disasters, as well as ways in which communities were able to face them and come out resilient through community-based responses. The shift in research brought about changes in the expansion of understanding the way disasters hit, and also looked at the perception of disasters. Emergency management in Canada has changed over time, as we are reminded that the nature of disasters has shifted. The world is changing at a rapid pace. We can't only focus on history, but we need to think about the evolving nature of the world. In Canada, historical trends are similar to that of the US, where the responsibility of management of crises has shifted towards governments. What once started with a focus on civil defense and nuclear threat has further developed into the emphasis on the four pillars: preparedness, mitigation, response, and recovery. In 2001, 9/11 started the drastic shift towards the fight against terrorism and the emphasis on national security. Historically, command and control structures exist when dealing with disasters, as first responders, such as police, firefighters, and medical services, were always involved in disaster and emergency management, as they have institutional training which they bring when dealing with disasters. Response now includes stakeholder involvement between national and local government, local communities, NGOs, and private sectors, who are all expected to know their role when a disaster strikes. Emergency management is a process of adaptive learning. This offers ways to learn from previous experience to better prepare for the future. It does this by addressing the unique characteristics of disasters, and it is also known as after-action review. By looking at the past, you can get a better understanding of what may happen and look at incidences and try to think about the worst-case scenario. They illustrate how people plan and respond both successfully and unsuccessfully. Case studies show what went wrong in a specific scenario, and this can help you understand the strengths and weaknesses. Experiences and practices are collected, usually done after the period of response to a disaster. These are then analyzed and thus enables you to look at what worked and what didn't work, and then produce recommendations and change behaviors through implementation. This online training has been produced and presented by LRI Engineering Incorporated. LRI is a Canadian professional engineering firm specializing in emergency planning, fire protection engineering, building and fire code consulting, and accessibility consulting services. For more information about LRI and how we can help you, please visit our website, follow us on social media, or call us today. This field has been evolutionary and it has become more inclusive, complex, more dynamic, and community-focused in terms of response. Health, climate change, community resilience are now a focus of study, and as disasters continue to change in nature, we are faced with something new every day. Thank you for joining us dive into a brief history of emergency management for Emergency Preparedness Week 2020.